The steel file costs $3. The specimen it just destroyed was worth $2,400. That single drag across a star sapphire dome erased 13 times its damaged value in under 2 seconds. 5 handling mistakes do this to collectors every single day, and by the end of this you will know each one, the exact science behind why it happens, and the field test that replaces the destructive habit for less than $15 per tool. So why do experienced prospectors keep ruining their best finds? I learned the answer watching rough assessors read kimberlite matrix still clinging to a stone. A single mark on the wrong surface meant the difference between certified provenance and a complete write-off. That lesson followed me into every creek bed and road cut I have worked since. Surface features are not decoration. They are the entire authentication record. Lose them, and you lose everything that makes the rock worth more than gravel. Every dealer network from Tucson to Munich prices specimens on surface integrity first. Weight, color, and locality come second. The first mistake is the one I see most often at dig sites and gem shows alike. Running a steel file across a domed sapphire surface to test hardness. Star sapphire gets its 6-rayed optical phenomenon from microscopic rutile needle inclusions, what gemologists call silk, aligned at 60-degree angles inside the trigonal corundum crystal lattice. When the dome is cut perpendicular to the C-axis, those 3 sets of needles reflect light back as a coherent star pattern. The entire phenomenon lives in the polished surface layer. One scratch scatters that incident light, breaks the coherent reflection from the rutile needles, and the star vanishes. Not fades. Vanishes permanently. In 2019, a collector named Terry Boudreaux pulled 22 grams of star sapphire rough from Graves Mountain in Lincoln County, Georgia. He ran a single pass with a steel file across the dome to confirm Mohs 9 hardness. The appraiser confirmed corundum, no question, but the asterism was gone from the tested face. The damaged stone appraised at $180. The intact estimate, based on asterism still visible in adjacent unscratched material, was $2,400. 13 times the value, erased in one motion. The correct replacement costs $3. An unglazed porcelain tile from Home Depot or Lowe's carries a Mohs hardness of 6.5 to 7. Take the tile and use an inconspicuous edge or corner of the specimen, never the display face, never the domed surface. Drag the specimen edge firmly across the tile. If it leaves a visible scratch on the porcelain, the stone is harder than 6.5. You have confirmed corundum range hardness without ever touching the optical surface. This is where the chemistry takes a turn nobody expected. The second mistake is acid testing a suspected meteorite. Fusion crust is a thin layer of iron oxide glass formed during atmospheric entry. That jet black rind is the primary authentication feature that separates a certified meteorite worth $35 to $80 per gram from an unverifiable iron-rich terrestrial rock worth nothing. The iron oxide glass dissolves in acid within minutes. Muriatic acid, vinegar, any acid strong enough to fizz on iron, will eat through that crust and take the authentication with it. The Portales Valley meteorite fell on June 13, 1998, in Roosevelt County, New Mexico. Specimens from that fall with intact crust have consistently sold for $35 to $80 per gram. Fragments from the same fall that were acid cleaned sell for $4 to $8 per gram. That is the kind of loss collectors remember. Same rock, same desert floor, same fall event. The only variable is whether someone poured acid on it. The correct test is an $8 neodymium rare earth magnet from Amazon or K&J Magnetics. Cover the magnet face with a thin layer of tape to prevent the magnet from scratching the crust on contact. Drag it slowly across the specimen surface. A strong pull or visible attraction tells you iron nickel is present. The magnet gives you the first answer, while the fusion crust stays intact. Then, grind a small flat window on an inconspicuous edge with a Dremel to check for Widmanstatten pattern under 10 times magnification. 2 tests, both non-destructive to the display surface. Total cost under $15. For a while after a good find, the field stays quiet. That does not last. The third mistake is the one that costs 5 to 10 times the specimen value every single time, and I have watched it happen at Tucson 3 years running. Hammering open a thunderegg or nodule to see the interior. Thundereggs are spherical to ovoid nodules that formed 60 million years ago inside gas pockets in rhyolitic volcanic ash flows across Central Oregon's high desert. Silica-rich hydrothermal fluids deposited layers of chalcedony, banded agate, and occasionally plume patterns inside those cavities. Only about 1 in every 1,000 of those eggs cuts plume agatites, the feathery dendritic mineral structure that serious collectors pay premium prices to own. When the exterior is intact and unbroken, a buyer can verify provenance, unaltered geological context, and authenticity at a glance. The moment you put a hammer to it, you crack the outer rhyolite matrix, introduce fracture lines into the interior, and drop the specimen from the intact category into the split category permanently. In 2012, a collector named Don Doell brought a 6-inch intact thunderegg from Priday Ranch in Wheeler County, Oregon, to the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show. The eggs from that location carry provenance that buyers recognize on sight. Doell sold that intact thunderegg for $340. Comparable specimens from the same location that had been split with a hammer were selling for $60. 5.6 times the value, sitting in the unbroken exterior alone. The correct tool for opening a thunderegg is a wet tile saw with a diamond blade. MK Diamond or DeWalt models run $180 to $400 at Home Depot, or $40 to $60 per day as a rental. Mark your cut line with a wax pencil, make a shallow scoring pass at 1 mm depth to prevent chipping, then proceed with a slow, steady cut under water cooling. Both halves come out with clean, collector-grade faces that retain full market value. If you want field protocols like this every week, exact tools and exact tests that protect value instead of destroying it, subscribe now. Up to this point, the mistakes involved hard tools and strong chemicals. The fourth is softer and therefore more insidious. Washing a creek specimen with dish soap. When a rock sits in moving water for decades, the minerals in that water, iron oxides, manganese dioxide, silica, calcium carbonate, deposit micro-thin layers on the surface. That mineral coating is called patina. In the collector authentication world, patina is one of the primary physical signals that verifies provenance and age. I learned to read these the same way rough diamond assessors read oxidation patterns to estimate how long a stone had been in alluvial transport before recovery. That brown-orange iron oxide coating on a creek-tumbled piece of jasper or a river-worn chunk of native copper is not dirt. It is a geological record built over decades of continuous mineral deposition from moving water. One wash with dish soap strips it completely. The surfactants lift and suspend those micro-mineral layers, and they go down the drain, permanently. The correct protocol is plain water only. Use a soft bristled brush with no chemicals if you need mechanical cleaning. If the specimen came out of a creek or river, that coating on its surface is telling you something about its provenance. Leave it intact until a qualified appraiser has examined it. And if that seems overly cautious, the fifth mistake proves that even doing nothing at all can still destroy a specimen. Storing amethyst, kunzite, or rose quartz near a window. Amethyst gets its purple from radiation-induced color centers in trace iron impurities. Ultraviolet light from a window reverses the process, and the deep purple becomes pale lavender permanently. A high-quality thunderegg cluster from Ontario with saturated violet terminations, and that characteristic hematite-dusted base carries a retail value of $200 to $400 for a medium to large specimen. 6 to 8 weeks on a windowsill in direct sun, and that same cluster is worth $20 to $40. Kunzite, the pink spodumene from lithium-rich pegmatite veins, fades even faster because its manganese-based color centers are more fragile than iron-based ones in quartz. The solution costs $15. An ultraviolet meter card from Amazon tells you the ultraviolet index of any display location in your home. Safe long-term display for photosensitive minerals requires an ultraviolet index below 1 and visible light below 50 lux. For permanent display cases, museum-grade ultraviolet blocking acrylic like acrylite. OP3 blocks 98% of ultraviolet radiation and costs $60 to $120 per sheet. That single sheet protects every specimen behind it indefinitely. The pattern across all 5 mistakes is not random. It is geological law. Gemological labs like GCAL have testified in court cases exceeding $10 million, where improper testing methods caused irreversible specimen damage and triggered insurance disputes. The fusion crust tells you a rock fell from space. The patina tells you a specimen lived in moving water for decades. The asterism tells you there is a fortune hidden in the surface layer. The intact shell of a thunderegg tells you its interior has never been contaminated. Every one of these 5 mistakes destroys the surface before any certified identification can happen. Therefore, you are not losing money. You are erasing the evidence before the investigation begins. Every specimen you pull from the ground carries a surface record that took decades or millions of years to form. The next rock you pick up still has that record intact. What you do in the first 60 seconds after discovery decides whether it stays evidence or becomes gravel. These 5 protocols cost less than $15 each. The surface they protect is irreplaceable.